Welcome back. I am answering your question that I have gotten several times. Is it all worth it?
Welcome to Modern Homestead Alaska. We are Aaron and Jessica Milnes. We are building a modern homestead outside of Wasilla, Alaska, with the help of 3 of our children. Our second son, Caleb, our daughter, Cody Ann, and the youngest of our family, Wyatt, along with our 3 dogs, Tipper and Daisy, and the newest addition, Roberto.
Good morning, friends. Good morning. Beautiful. Current chicken count, 54. That is how many chickens we have. The meat birds are getting huge very, very quickly. And then we have my full-size layers. One is a rooster. There's 17 there. And then there is 8 new laying type of chickens. They so far are all female, and I got a run, which is different than like a guaranteed hens or females, so that I could maybe, this rooster is very aggressive. However, he is extremely protective of the chicks and the chickens against like wild prey. So I don't know. He is a constant struggle battle of what do we do with him. So anyway, here we are. So 54 in just a couple of weeks. Almost 30 of those will go in to be butchered for meat for the year, and then the rest will of course produce eggs for our family. Let's talk about the topic. So I'm out here checking things out in the garden. I have managed to accomplish all except for this half of the tomato and peppers trellis. We're gonna tackle that now while we talk. But I'm just sort of looking things over, and I just want to say it's super, could be disheartening if you've never really gardened. When you first plant all of it out, well, first of all, I didn't get it in the ground when expected. I may have started a couple of things too early, or I didn't start them too early. I didn't up pot them the way that maybe I should because I ran out of space. The other thing was I really kind of thought maybe I had planted too much or seed started too much, and I had not. But what is so encouraging is to come out here, and it has literally been just a few days that this has been in the garden, and I just have to tell you, like, look at all the salad coming up. All the brassicas have came back to life. They are doing beautiful things. The arugula has me super excited over there. And I don't know if you can see, but these purple onions here that came from the set, and someone did mention, and yes, that is the thing. So it takes 2 years to grow an onion. And so last year we planted these same things. So I didn't want to confuse that I had planted onion seed last year. I had not. I had planted the little bulbs that were already an onion that were supposed to then produce a great big onion. And I can tell you, we did not even get a single one that got that big last year. But all of this right here that you see is the purple onion, and in every single bed, those onions are now bigger than they were last year. So I'm going to use 2 examples in our conversation today as you and I just kind of chat. Many of you love a good chit chat with me, and some of the viewers don't. This might not be a video for them. I am, however, going to start tackling these tomatoes as we talk, and I am going to show you how I buried them super deep, and some of them were buried even sideways in order to get more of the stalk, the roots, to grow stronger plants in the ground. So let's I have just spent probably 15 wasted minutes. I don't know if they're wasted. I called Aaron and talked to him. We have some stuff going on that we're gonna share with the channel here shortly. Drug another straw bale over here, dealing with a little disappointment with that, because although it's certified weed free, it is not certified seed free. So I am probably gonna have to end up doing some wood chips in here to keep down from whatever's in the straw from growing. However, it likely will be shallow rooted enough that it would not overwinter, and when we turn the chickens loose on it, they're gonna be happy campers to come and pick whatever seeds and whatnot are in the garden. Fortunately, the heaviest places that is all growing is in areas that it will get choked out by things like cucumbers and zucchinis and so on. My flower seeds, am I avoiding the topic? This topic has literally kept me awake. It has kept me awake at night because I know how to answer it. Like, I know what's in my head, and then finding the words to explain it is extremely, extremely difficult. And I am such a wordy person that one would think this would be easy for me. So when I got this one's not worth saving. So, is it worth it question? I've had more than one person kind of describe what they meant by that. And the first, is what we're doing worth it question, oftentimes boils down to financially. Is it worth it? Second, Aaron and I have kind of gotten some comments about funds or how much money we make or whatever, and I want to just take a minute. I don't feel like I ever need to say how much money Aaron makes or defend that. I can tell you that I don't even make $1,000 a month on YouTube, so my contribution as far as that goes is very, very minimal. So we aren't like other channels in that we're making all of this money off of our content or those sort of things. And of course, like, the hopes and dreams are that I would get to the point of living this homestead life and that it paid for itself. I know that that's a doable thing, but it's not why we went into YouTube or homesteading in the first place. We purchased this property pre YouTube channel at all, so this was going to be our life regardless. The other thing is we have built it. That is how Aaron and I were able to buy this property. Is we had a house hit by a storm, and instead of paying a contractor to do the work that needed to be done, so say we would have been able to put in some cheap Lowe's flooring based on what the insurance had given us on the house that got hit. Instead, we took those funds and completely tiled the house ourselves. So Aaron's labor, my labor, the kids' labor, all of that is honestly probably the most valuable thing on our homestead. So I think when people are asking me financial questions, and this is just how my mind takes it, what they are asking is because they don't have an Aaron or a Caleb or the ability to actually do all of the labor that would be required in, say, a garden this size, or chickens, or build a chicken coop, or those sort of things. They would have to hire it out. They'd have to pay someone to do it. And therefore, they kind of equate their situation with what it would cost financially, and then equate it to mine and assume, assume that we have some exorbitant, or we've spent some exorbitant amount of money in building these things, and oftentimes that just, it's not the case. And even though I've shown that the vast majority of, like, the dirt where we're at, where the tomatoes are at, there's 12 inches total between the dirt that's underneath and the compost that's on top. We got it for free. It just literally took our time and labor to get it to the homestead. So yes, if you did not have a free source, and we did not have a free source when we planned the garden, and so the garden has grown exponentially based on free materials, not based on us spending more money. I hope I kind of brought all of that together. I think the first point I'm making about money is, don't assume because it would cost you a lot of money to do some of the things that we're doing, that we're also paying that amount of money. And I know that that sounds like really point blank, but it kind of is. Alaska is such a funny animal, and like any place else that I have ever lived, where everyone is super helpful. They will literally give you things, and if you can take those free things and make something beautiful out of it because you're creative or whatever, why not? So the truth of the matter is we have not spent a ton of money on the garden, the animals, and those sort of things. Although I think it's a compliment, honestly, at the end of the day, that someone would look at it and think that we had spent a ton of money in order to get where we're at when we really had not done that. The next very specific money question, as far as is it worth it goes, was like very direct and pointed, as they literally said what their point was. And it was, okay, so I'm gonna tell you a story. Our first hog that we raised, we always had the kids be involved. Now, they didn't watch their animal die, as far as like the way in which they put them down in order to butcher them. But yeah, our kids rode along in the truck, the hogs would go in, and the kids had a reaction to that, which is what I would hope, is that my child wouldn't love the process, but that they would grow to respect it and appreciate the life that these animals give us. And I think there's so much beauty to that as far as homesteading goes, and it's something that you can't really teach otherwise. I don't know that a child can fully appreciate or learn to appreciate without kind of seeing things firsthand. We can all be told this is how the world is, but seeing it firsthand is an appreciation. So the whole story is that he was crying, our son was crying, and he said to my husband, but Dad, we can buy meat at Walmart. Like, please, you know, I don't want to. So we always made a deal with our kids, 2 stories in one, 2 for 1 here. We just made a deal with our kids that we would tell them, we wouldn't just feed them their animal. They got the choice in eating that. So take it or leave it. That was just how we chose to raise our kids. And our child quickly changed his mind on, well, he's delicious. The hog is amazing. And although heartbreaking and hard, so the point was what it cost me to raise the meat chickens versus what I can buy at the store. Is it worth it? Yes. My meat birds are on a controlled diet. I control what goes in them. I control their environment and how they live and how their life is ended and how they are from the moment that they arrive on the homestead till the day that they're being put into our bodies. And I absolutely, regardless of any funds, think that is worth it. Knowing where my food comes from, how it was raised, what was put in it is so passionate and important to me right now, that absolutely, specifically, our meat, regardless of what it costs to raise it, is worth the work, the additional funds, all of that it takes to have these fresh farm raised animals. The other thing is, if you were to go to the store, sure, I can buy a $5 Costco chicken, whereas it costs $5 per bird, and then you have the feed and so on. We're not comparing apples to apples. So if you're asking me to compare apples to apples, I'm comparing with a bird that's $20+ up here to get these fresh farm raised antibiotic antibiotic free, all of those things. Even, you know, they're not on city water, they're not on purified water, they're on well water. Even that doesn't have antibiotics and all of these other things that you have to kind of contend with in the city. They're not chlorinated, they're not any of that. Like, they just have the freshest, healthiest air, the best product that we can produce. So when comparing apples to apples, it is cheaper for me to raise these animals than it is to buy them. Another financial question: is the garden worth the financial expense of what we've put into it? If I'm being very honest, yes. Financially, the garden is absolutely worth its weight. Even, how do you say that? Like, let's just talk about the potatoes. I'll use them. They'll be today's example. The potatoes, our last year's potatoes that I bought and we planted and so on, and then they are now crazy sprouting. So if they produce, again, enough potatoes that we can live and eat the potatoes, and then they can again produce next year's potatoes, and that's an ongoing thing. How much am I really financially into those potatoes? Now, starting all of this from scratch is very expensive, as far as the things that have to be purchased. But you literally see me sitting here dividing out the soil. I will find a use for this. There's a way to sterilize it with hot water and all these other things. Let's talk about the seeds. Spent $300 on seeds. I have not even planted out a third or a quarter of that. So let's just say I spent $100 on seeds. Well, if I were to go to the grocery store today and just maybe get a few carrots and some onions and some celery. I didn't know I would be so good at growing celery. And maybe some bell peppers or jalapenos or whatnot. I'm going to spend way over $100. So seed-wise, what you pay for a $2 or $3 pack of seed and what it can produce for you in the long run, I don't even know how that could be considered not a financial, absolutely worth the financial investment. And we are growing something here, right? Like, we're growing a garden space that gets layered on top of and continued to grow it. And so instead of saying everything's like potting soil, and then potting soil you toss out and you use new the following year and those sort of things, I'm literally trying to be very financially conscious as far as the garden goes, and literally finding ways that I can build something that can be built onto, not something that is ripped down and you have to repurchase all of these things. The compost this year was a huge investment. However, we won't need to buy this amount of compost unless we were to recreate a garden of identical size in the future. We need very little to top off moving forward, if that makes sense. So this year's investment in the compost, as it continues to do what compost does, we continue to lasagna and layer things in here. It is a very long investment. So as far as financially goes on a garden, yes, your garden is worth the money that you put into it, because what you get out far exceeds financially what you put in. So another very specific, is it worth it question that was proposed to me is my time, my effort, and the work that I am putting into the garden and the homestead. And that is the question I really think kept me awake at night. And the reason it keeps me awake is how do I say it bold enough and point blank enough that everyone understands it, right? And then how do I also say it in a way that you really see my heart? And I don't know that I've came up with an answer to that, but I will say this. My whole life, I wanted to be a wife and a mother, and I wanted this life. Like, I envisioned the garden and the animals and the kids and all of those things. And when I was a young mom, I did not appreciate my blessing of being able to stay at home with them and do all of the things I was able to do. So I very much was not appreciative of the life I had because I always wanted something more. And now I have this life that isn't for everyone. I totally get that, but it is everything that I have always dreamed of. And I, for the first time in my entire life, am embracing it. And I have so much joy and so much peace. The year before we moved here, I remember this a very specific prayer that I prayed, and I remember it so well because I prayed it every single day for over a year, and sometimes I still pray it now. Lord, give me beauty for ashes. Take this burned up heap of a life that is full of heartache and hurt and pain. Take these horrific things that I have seen and done, have happened to me, and I've played a part in. Take all of it and exchange with me this heap of ashes for beauty, because that's what you say you do. Sorry. And that's exactly what he did for me. And every day I wake up here and I honestly feel that I have the greatest life. I have an amazing husband that loves me. Our marriage is far from perfect. It's never even been close to perfect, I don't think, ever. But that doesn't make him less of a great man who loves me and works super hard for his family and does his very best every single day. I have 4 beautiful, healthy children, and that's not without its heartbreak and its pain. And that's not to say that they haven't been some of the greatest sources of pain in my life. It's to say that I choose to be grateful today that there's just so many without that. There are so many people out there that don't have beautiful, healthy, happy, living children. And so how could I look at this life and not be grateful for Aaron and not be grateful for my children? We just stood out here. He was watering the other day, and I was just hugging on him, and this isn't camera or any of that. Nothing was being recorded. And I just thought how cute it was that my chicken coop matches my house. And I remember finding this house and being hysterical. Like, I couldn't even breathe in the car sitting next to Aaron because my heart could not receive that this was what God was giving us. I just couldn't accept it. I couldn't accept it. And I was like, couldn't even speak to him and just tell him, like, these things happen. They just don't happen to people like us. And they really do. And God was answering the prayer of the exchange. He was giving me beauty. If I would give him my heartbreak. And so we were just standing here, and I was like, we did good. So many people, how do you say it nicely? They insulted us. They insulted us for putting, vinyl siding on the house, or, because believe it or not, we have a budget and it's not limitless. But instead we did, this versus that. I'm on a tangent, but, I look at my life and I was unappreciative of this when I was younger and the kids were younger. What I would give. What I'd give to go back to those houses and those properties and appreciate that God gave me this ability to stay home and to be a wife and a mother and to learn these skills. When I was learning them at the time, it was out of necessity from being so poor and so broke that, I had to learn to make bread because otherwise we weren't getting bread that week. No lie. If we wanted bread, I had to learn to make it. And so those skills came from a place of struggle, and now I look at those skill sets as this huge blessing, because now I get to get in there and create with the bread, and I get to create new and different things, and it excites me, and I love and find joy in these things. So is the work that goes into the garden, the animals, building, like, to the point of absolutely cannot walk pain, is this homesteading life worth it? Yes. My life is worth it. And everything that we are putting in and doing is worth it. And everything that we have done and invested and poured into this homestead, to the point of running ourselves to, praying things change, and Aaron would get a job, and he did, and all of that, and just leaving whatever little bit of money we had and not going to the store and not doing all that. Like, this has not been easy peasy the whole way. I'm dumping plants and soil that just didn't make it, and the learned lessons, nothing ever goes perfectly, but all of it is worth it. So if I could just reach through the camera right now into your home and your heart and your life and say, do whatever you're doing today with a heart of gratitude, and instead of, which some situations are just so negative, so horrific, so horrible, it's so hard to find positives. And you may be in a situation or life, or have something happen that in that situation alone there is no positives to be found. I simply encourage that at some point in time we get to heal, we get the right to do that, and we get to move forward in life. I was talking to two young ladies this week, and one of them said to me, I have never met anyone like you. I have never had someone sit before me and say, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't live in a different house. I don't have dreams or hopes of a different property or moving or leaving, and I have my whole life until now, I have always wanted bigger and better and different, and if only we could go here, or only we could go there. And I am at this place in my life that is so foreign and new to even me. I wouldn't change any of it. I wouldn't have different children. I wouldn't have a different husband. I wouldn't live on a different piece of land or a different state. I would not go back to work or get a different, go to school or a different education. I wouldn't change my life. And it's not the biggest. I'm not some billionaire life somewhere. I may be happier. I may have finally found more peace and happiness than billionaires have. So she said to me, I've never met someone that feels that way. But I think that we all have the ability to, in some way, shape, or form, look at our lives and really feel that way about certain aspects of it, or we have an ability to change things and so on. And I'm not going to preach and teach you here, but the other girl was like, I just want to be you. Here you were with your little herbs and your smoothie, and you got a massage, and I want to be you when I grow up. And I just said to her, pursue what makes you happy, and do it with a grateful heart, loving others along the way. And that is it. That is my encouragement to everyone. That's how I got here, and I'm not ashamed of it. And I am very happy that this is the situation, and I'm grateful for the season that I'm in, because we all know that seasons change so quickly in life. You wake up one day and your life completely is altered and changed in some way, shape, or form beyond your own control. So I'm going to be grateful in this season, and I'm going to say yes, all of it is worth it. All of the pain, all of the suffering, all of the money, because I am personally living the life that I wanted to live. And I think my last thought that I wanted to share on any and all of that was, pursue the life that is the one that you want to live. And it may not be a huge garden. You may look at this big garden and think, I don't want that. I don't want that kind of work or labor. Nothing about that is attractive to me. I want to make pottery or jewelry, or you know what I mean? I want to go help orphans in some foreign country. To me, it doesn't matter what it is that you want to pursue. What's important is that we are able, and that we allow one another to pursue what makes them happy, brings them peace and joy, and they're loving on others through it. Whatever that may be, it doesn't have to be what makes me happy, but it does still make my life worth living, because what makes me happy, it might not be what makes you happy. I hope that kind of makes sense. Thank you, those of you who sat through a chit chat with me in the garden. Just watched a chicken escape, but I now know the hole that she is digging through. So I have to go catch her before she eats all of the pots of plants that I have now left out. Let's go catch my chicken. Thank you for being here. I am the most blessed that each and every one of you would show up here today, and that I have the freedom to just say what I want to say and be open and honest. And I appreciate each and every one of you. If you're new around here, I do chit chat videos, but I also do lots and lots of other things. I have a beautiful family that I share with you. So if you would like, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, you'll get notifications. Thumbs up and comments all help our channel to grow. If this has been encouraging, or you know someone it would be encouraging to, feel free to share the videos. I would appreciate it very, very much. Thank you guys. I will see you in the next video. So I did tell you that I would show you how I planted out these tomatoes. I would say 9 out of 10 of all the ones that I did actually plant in the ground are doing great. I've learned a lot. I have a lot that I'm gonna do next year. But the first thing I'm doing is I got these super sharp nippers. And believe it or not, because this tomato plant will just continue to grow up the top and the fruit will eventually come, we don't have to be super concerned. The other thing is, believe it or not, look at how long and lanky this tomato has gotten. It's a Sweetie is the brand, or the breed. So what do? We're actually going to bury most of the stem, and then that way all of this can become roots and it'll be super hardy. But look at, like, that's a super strong tomato, believe it or not. But what we really want is to just start growing out of the top here. So what I'm going to do is dig a trench, first of all, that I can then lay this tomato sideways in. I'm going to wrap the twine around it, and when I do, I'm going to gently start turning it upwards, and then all of this that's laying down becomes a root system, and then what is trellised up the string will actually be the tomato that you see. What you're looking at. I determined on the ground, so here it is. So here will be the big root ball. Just dig that out. And then I go along and make a trench to where I think the top of it, I'll want it to turn upwards. So where the root is going, I'll dig or trench a little deeper, and then where the stem is, I will not. The other thing is I have some local Alaskan. This is one of the gardens that we toured. I can add up to a couple of tablespoons. My tomatoes are fertilized. They are going into straight compost at the top, soil at the bottom. And this guy is a little bit dry right now. He was under the plastic, and then it rained again yesterday. So we just pull it out very gently, tuck the root ball deep, and then take our twine, and I don't actually tie it to anything, but I string it around, giving it lots of support. Okay, and then bury that. Now we fertilize the ground. I like to put the pot right here so that the next tomato or pepper or whatever it is that I'm gonna plant, I don't actually accidentally, because I did that over there on accident, lost a whole tomato over this. So lesson learned. I like to put it right where the root is. And that way I don't accidentally hit or turn that root up. I do plant or put the label there, then stand up, pull the twine, guess about how much extra I need, giving myself a little. Snip tomato, very gently, not pulling the whole thing out of the ground. Give her a couple of wraps. She's plenty strong. There you go. There we have it. The next tomato is not quite as long and lanky as that one. So I just have 3 odd tomatoes right here. None of them are the same kind, and they're just kind of what's left over. So for this tomato, let me show you what we're gonna do for it. So we're just gonna dig a deeper hole as opposed to laying it straight. So come along here, bump it back just a tad. Same fertilizer. Now for the twine, I just take a couple and put a little bit of it down in the bottom. And then right here we have roots all the way down here. So we want to get that deep in there. We're going to take the twine and make connection. But we are burying the twine, not tying the twine on. Now, and same thing, I'm just gonna trellis it up. But there you go, there's 2 ways to bury your tomatoes so that now they're gonna grow more and more roots, and we are gonna have very strong tomatoes if the weather warms up.